is watching. I've also been in contact with the King of Jordan, spoken with members of Congress, directed my national security team to engage with their Israeli counterparts, military to military, intelligence to intelligence, diplomat to diplomat, to make sure Israel has what it needs. I've also directed my team to remain in constant contact with leaders throughout the region, including Egypt, Turkey, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Oman, the UAE, as well as our European partners and the Palestinian Authority. It's also a terrible tragedy on a human level. It's hurting innocent people. Seeing the lives that have been broken by this, the families torn apart, it's heartbreaking. And Jill and I are praying for those families who've been impacted by this violence. We grieve with those who've lost their loved ones, lost a piece of their soul. We have hope for swift recovery for many who've been wounded. We're going to remain in close touch with Prime Minister. I personally am going to remain in close contact with Prime Minister Netanyahu as this situation continues to develop. And let there be no mistake, the United States stands with the state of Israel, just as we have from the moment the United States became the first nation to recognize Israel 11 minutes after its founding 75 years ago. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, was there an intelligence failure in the lead up to this attack?
Mr. President, can you tell us what we asked you specifically for support?
Because I'm going to replay it. I don't have anybody on right now because, oh my God, I didn't send out any kind of everything is happening so fast. Hopefully there's notifications going through. Usually people know that I'm talking, but you know, everything is happening so fast. I just happened to I was like, let me just go live real quick for like an hour and just try to update everybody on everything that's going on. I am going to repeat what we just heard the sleepy guy in chief say. I'm going to repeat it. I will play it again. So let me just check my audio. Right now, I don't have anybody on anyway, and that's okay. Hold on. Okay, I have somebody on. Let me just check it out here. All right. So I couldn't even like make a thumbnail. Everything, like I said, is happening so fast. We woke up to the reports this morning about Israel being attacked by Hamas. Okay, somebody's not watching again. So let me stop watching the little counter. Let me replay again what Joe Biden just said because I was busy trying to get everything together. So let's just go ahead and replay that. The man only talked for about 2 minutes. Yeah, wait a minute. Yeah, about 2 minutes, yo. That's crazy. Okay, I'm gonna replay.
Good afternoon. Today, the people of Israel are under attack, orchestrated by a terrorist organization, Hamas. In this moment of tragedy, I want to say to them and to the world and to terrorists everywhere, that the United States stands with Israel. We will not ever fail to have their back. We'll make sure that they have the help their citizens need and they can continue to defend themselves. You know, the world's seen appalling images. Thousands of rockets in the space of hours raining down on Israeli cities. I got up this morning and started this at 7:30, 8 o'clock, my calls. Hamas terrorists crossing in Israel, killing not only Israeli soldiers, but Israeli civilians. In the street, in their homes, innocent people murdered, wounded, entire families taken hostage by Hamas. Just days after Israel marked the holiest of days in the Jewish calendar. It's unconscionable. You know, when I spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu this morning, I told him the United States stands with the people of Israel in the face of these terrorist assaults. Israel has the right to defend itself and its people, full stop. There's never a justification for terrorist attacks. And my administration's support for Israel's security is rock solid and unwavering. Let me say this as clearly as I can. This is not a moment for any party hostile to Israel to exploit these attacks to seek advantage.
Okay.
The world is watching. I've also been in contact with the King of Jordan, spoken with members of Congress, directed my national security team to engage with their Israeli counterparts, military to military, intelligence to intelligence, diplomat to diplomat, to make sure Israel has what it needs. I've also directed my team to remain in constant contact with leaders throughout the region, including Egypt, Turkey, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Oman, the UAE, as well as our European partners and the Palestinian Authority. It's also a terrible tragedy on a human level. It's hurting innocent people. Seeing the lives that have been broken by this, the families torn apart, it's heartbreaking. And Jill and I are praying for those families who've been impacted by this violence. We grieve with those who've lost their loved ones, lost a piece of their soul. We have hope for swift recovery for many who've been wounded. We're going to remain in close touch with Prime Minister. I personally am going to remain in close contact with Prime Minister Netanyahu as this situation continues to develop. And let there be no mistake. The United States stands with the state of Israel. Just as we have from the moment the United States became the first nation to recognize Israel 11 minutes after its founding 75 years ago.
75 years.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Mr. President, was there an intelligence failure in the lead up to this attack?
Without,
Mr.
I
President, can
mean,
you tell us what PV asked you?
it's just, and that's Anthony Blinken behind him, it appears anyway. It's just really embarrassing. He says all this stuff and they can't even ask him one question. There's always that one reporter, it's the same one, because I know her voice. She always tries anyway. Nobody else tried. She tries anyway. And then he walks away. So they gave him his talking points. They gave him his lines and he delivered them and then he gets to go. Okay. Because he's not running anything. Okay. All right, y'all. Welcome to the live. Thank you, Cage. Thank you. Because quite frankly, who knows what will happen to channels if we talk honestly. No. I can't take it. You ain't lying. Yeah, Ashley, thank you for coming through. You're absolutely right. The thing is, we're gonna speak in we're gonna speak in codes a little bit. I can't get into the deepness of how far this goes. I'm not gonna go into too much of the weeds about this. I only have an hour. Here's the thing, like I only have an hour, so let me try to pack in as much as I can. So what happened this morning is we woke up to news of Joe Biden, Jesus Christ have mercy, of Israel being attacked by Hamas. All right, so what we need to know, like Hamas is not a military like regiment, like an actual military regiment. It is more like a terrorist, group. That's what they would call them. Okay, so they started to, what's up, Bozette? They attacked civilians in Israel. That's what it appears to be. I have to go with what I saw on Twitter. Some of it I don't believe. I'm going to keep it all the way funky. Some of it I think that is photo ops. It's opportunities for people to make videos and sell videos and get money and all of that. But for the most part, we can agree that there is an attack happening over there. So now this group comes in and they're attacking civilians and, we'll do the disclaimer. Of course, I don't want to see bloodshed. No matter what position I take, I'm not happy to see people dying, people getting shot and killed and chewed up or whatever. But yes, like Ashley says, it's a messy conflict with an even messier history. It absolutely is. It is. But we can all agree, like, okay, we don't want to see the violence. I get it. But the way it's being reported, I already know this is the war that, now I'm not saying we're going to war tomorrow. I want to make it clear. I don't want to put any dates. I don't want to put months or anything on what's happening. Like, all right, we're going to be in war in 2 months. I'm not doing that. But I can tell you that this would be the war that everybody would pretty much stand and be united on. Why? Because you got the Democrat side that doesn't care if they're going to war with, with a liquid, with a pond. Okay. Like they don't care what they go to war with. They could go to war with a volcano. And as long as they can just bomb something and sell weapons and get their money laundering going, they don't care. You will see Ilhan Omar. She probably has not tweeted about this. She can't. Because if this is going to happen, she has to keep her mouth shut. The Dems want their money. They're going to get their money, and that's it. But you have now the Republican side, the right wing side, that's going to say, yeah, we have to go to war because we have to defend Israel. And that's why this is a problem. This would be the perfect, quote, war, okay, that is starting out in a very messy, at a very messy starting point right now today. I mean, it's not just starting today, but the actions of today don't make any sense because Israel is known to have supposedly like the best, most ruthless surveillance, basically CIA spy team, Mossad. So, so how was Hamas able to do this? I don't understand why was the Iron Dome down? Iron Dome down. Like, how was this able to happen? So from the minute when I heard this, I said, "There's more to this than what meets the eye." So we're gonna go into Twitter and we're gonna see No, first I'm going to start with Alexander McCurse, who's going to explain. We're going to listen to, yes, it's going to be about a good maybe 7 minutes of him explaining, but I want to pack in as much information as I can in this hour, and he can explain it, of course, better than me of what's happening. And so, because I was driving, I was like, I got to turn on the computer and we have to talk about this. So I want to bring you guys the best sources that I can find. Alexander McCurse is part of the Duran. I wanted to see what he was going to say about all of this. And while other people are rushing to assumptions, while other people are rushing into opinionated thoughts, blind opinionated thoughts, I need to get sources that are calm and collected. So let's go ahead and we're going to take a look at Alexander McCurse and what he was saying. I call him the Oracle. Well, they all call him the Oracle because he's pretty good with, All right. So, all right. Wait, hold on. I didn't add it. I hate when I do this.
Much more intense, much larger scale events in Israel and in the Palestinian territories. Now,
Cass, can you give me the information? So Trump is going to speak. Do you know, like, where and how long? I'll look it up too. All right. So this is him getting ready to explain it.
this morning, there are lots of reports all over the Western media about a major missile attacks and incursions by fighters, Hamas fighters, into Israel. There are lots of reports that claim that Israeli civilians have been killed, that Israeli checkpoints have been captured, that Israeli soldiers have been captured. And indeed, there is some evidence, there is in fact conclusive evidence of the latter. There's also reports of many Israeli civilians
let me see.
having been taken to hospital.
While he's talking.
The way that this has been reported in the West might lead one to think that this incident has come out of the clear blue sky, that this is an attack that has been launched without any previous warning. On the moon of Alabama, however, there are reports completely unreported in the Western media, but I've no reason to doubt that they are true. But anyway, it's something I have only read in the Moon of Alabama.
Okay, before we get to what he's read in the Moon of Alabama, I'm going to share what Trump is talking right now. He's saying his thank yous and his hellos. I will try to watch on the.
Wow, young guy.
Yeah.
Good job you've done at such a young age.
So that's what he's doing right now.
State Senator Lynn Evans.
So he's saying his thank yous and his hellos. So what I'm gonna do is I'll watch it like on my phone to see when he starts to get into, if he talks about what's going on in Israel. And I already know what he's going to say. It's probably going to annoy me, but and then I'll bring it back to that. So we're going to go back to Alexander McCurse, who's saying that this was not a surprise attack as much as people think so. So let's hear him.
That there was apparently an incursion by Israeli settlers into the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. This is one of the most important religious centers in Islam. And from the language I understand that's coming from Hamas, and from other Palestinian officials and spokesmen, this incursion is, in some respects or in some way, a retaliation for that event. I want to make it very clear that I am not fully informed about these events. Focus on Ukraine, perhaps over focus on Ukraine, a fault which I share with many others in the West. It's been complained about often by many people across the global South, perhaps means that little reported or unreported by the Western media events in the Middle East, like this incursion into the Al-Aqsa Mosque, have apparently happened. And to say honestly, I've not been aware of them. Suffice to say that an event like that would certainly have provoked a very strong reaction from the Palestinian population and from the Muslim community across the world. And it might, to some extent, explain what has happened. But it is also clear to me that an event of the scale that we are seeing, an attack of the scale that we're seeing, of the kind that Hamas is currently launching against Israel, would have required a great deal of planning and a great deal of preparation, logistical preparation over many months, perhaps even years. And if the very sketchy and ambiguous reports of what is taking place are even remotely true, one would be justified in talking about an actual offensive, a kind of offensive being launched against Israel by what up to this point has been an irregular militia. And of course, it is receiving verbal backing from Hezbollah, the powerful militia, actually more like an army, that is based in Lebanon. And of course, Hezbollah is a Shia force, Hamas is Muslim, is Sunni rather. Despite that fact, these two militias, Hamas and Hezbollah, have worked closely with each other and have close contacts with each other. And I understand that the president of the Palestinian territories, or at least of those parts of the Palestinian territories controlled by the Palestinian government, President Abbas, has in effect given his support to this operation by Hamas. So, a well-prepared, carefully prepared operation. Israel is already taking strong counter steps. It's launched bombing attacks.
Just a few more minutes, maybe like 2 more minutes, and we'll get into what he said.
On Gaza, the Israeli Air Force is active. Prime Minister Netanyahu says that Israel is in a state of war and is being attacked. And he says that Israel's retaliation will be on a scale that we have not seen. Well, that is the kind of understandable rhetoric one should expect in these kind of situations. Now, I'm going to make a number of observations. Firstly, large scale and intense as this attack by Hamas undoubtedly is, it cannot place the existence of Israel in any kind of jeopardy. And though it can cause significant damage and destruction and loss of life, ultimately, the power of the Israeli armed forces is such that in some way and in some form and at some point in time, they will presumably be able to contain this unless there is a larger war involving firstly Hezbollah and ultimately the Arab states. And I have to say that I personally think all that is unlikely. So that's the first thing to say. The second thing to say is that there has been clearly a major collapse in Israel's intelligence operation. And I find this remarkable. Mossad, which I understand is Israel's main intelligence agency, has a worldwide reputation for tremendous ability. It's pretty ruthless organization as well. But it's clear to me that the Israeli leaders were caught completely by surprise by these events, that they didn't expect them, and that this has come upon them like a bolt out of a clear blue sky. So clearly something there has gone seriously wrong. The third is that we don't know how long this operation will continue, how long the fighting will continue, but it does have the potential to draw attention away from events in Ukraine. And of course, it could also trigger further moves in the Middle East of a geopolitical nature. Saudi Arabia, for example, is already saying that it is not prepared to establish diplomatic relations with Israel until there is a general settlement of the Palestinian issue, disappointing the United States. And it looks as if it could be, or so it seems to me, it looks likely that there will be a further trend in the Middle East away from the United States, and the United States' position as a mediator looks even shakier than usual. I suspect, in fact, I would not be at all surprised, in fact, if we're going to hear criticism over the next days and weeks that the United States has neglected its responsibilities towards Israel because of its undue focus on events in Ukraine.
All right, so I'm going to stop him right there. I'm listening to Trump on I'm listening to Trump on the back end. I'm just making sure when he's gonna. I just want to see if he's saying anything that's okay. So yeah, he's still kind of talking trash. All right, so I'm looking at Zach. What's up, Zach? So I'm glad everybody came through. All right, so what Alexander McCurs just said, he's right. They're going to say Joe Biden already, or whoever's running the show already got the call. Like, yo, y'all, you guys been paying so much attention to Ukraine, y'all haven't been taking care of us. All right, so let's start from the beginning. I'm totally with Ashley Casey on what she's saying. I want to be very clear. Am I supposed to care? Because honestly, I don't anymore, unless it was Americans being taken. That is not a bad position to take at all. It's not. You're not supposed to care. The only reason, though, we watch and we pay attention is because they're going to pull us into it in some fashion. They're going to start first with the money. Alexander McCurs actually went on to say that, that some of the weapons that were allotted for Israel had already been sent over to Ukraine. Everything has been about Ukraine. We don't have any, to me, responsibilities to anybody, but so he's right about, but because the mainstream thinks America has responsibilities to Israel first, you heard Joe Biden. He said, "Oh yeah, we were the first, nation to basically come on, y'all, to congratulate or receive Israel as a nation, as their sovereignty, in 10 after what did they say in 11 minutes 75 years ago." First of all, I just want to be clear, for the longest time in my life, I thought that Israel was always like there. So when I found this out later on in life, like, oh, what? Wait a minute, 75 years ago? That's it? What's going on? All right. But now, for me to hear that Mossad did not, that the leaders didn't know this was going to happen, and you hear what he said about Mossad, they are a serious force, right? Lets me know that they wanted this to happen, right? This is my opinion. I don't believe that Netanyahu didn't know that this was going to happen. Sometimes in war, there's casualties of war, and people will sacrifice their own for the war that needs to be started. I'm just saying in my opinion, but we saw that with 9/11. Look, we're not going to get into who did 9/11 or whatever, but don't tell me that our intelligence agencies did not know that there was an attack getting ready to happen on the World Trade Center. I think that's something that we all know, that we all can say that and not have to worry about having our accounts taken away from us on Twitter, on YouTube, So to me, I'm like, the minute I heard it and I saw this kind of large scale attack, I said, something is not adding up. I said, they are playing us on both sides. What we need to remember too about the Israel nation, like it's actually a territory that's occupying in Palestine. And I mean, that's just the truth. And people hate to hear it. It is. So they have their own conflicts going on with that situation over there. But we Americans are now heavily invested into it. Not me and you, but our elected officials are. Like I said, we're gonna go to Twitter, and I bet you that Ilhan Omar did not say anything about this. This is the one that they're going to go for with this, if this becomes a large scale attack. Now, and another point to make, when everything was happening with Ukraine and, over Ukraine, and BRICS has been growing, and I'm watching all these nations come together. All these nations come together in BRICS. Saudi Arabia, Iran, I think Egypt is looking to join BRICS. All of this. So the Middle Eastern nations, you can say they're coming together. Turkey's kind of in there, kind of not, kind of thing. Syria. These people are connected. They're connecting. And then you have Israel sitting there like a sitting duck. I said to myself, I was like, it's only about a matter of time before something pops off, or we have to defend them because they're in a weak spot, for lack of a better term. We first have 900 troops in Syria, and instead of sending them back home, because why do we still have troops in Syria? If you have all these Middle Eastern countries coming together, having a rapprochement, talking, getting along, whatever, and then you have Syria being occupied by American troops, and they don't want us there. Nobody wants us there. The Russians said that we got to go, Syria, because the Russians are helping the Syrians because they want their land. They don't want Americans there occupying and quote, protecting, guarding, stealing their oil. They don't want that. Who would want that, right? So I said to myself, this isn't good for our soldiers. This isn't good. Something is going to pop off in that area. And there was an Iranian drone that was in that area or whatever. There was a situation with a drone. We sent 2,500 more troops over to Syria. 2,500 more. Why? Right? Why? So, okay. It's really the lies. They're just too much. But we're going to go to Twitter now. We're going to go to Twitter. I'm still looking. No, before we go to Twitter, I'm going fast. All right. Like, this is all happening fast. This is what he was talking about, Alexander Mercouris. Let me add it on the stage here. Add to stage. When he was saying that the Al-Aqsa Mosque, I remember hearing about this. Israeli forces attacked Palestinian worshippers at Al-Aqsa Mosque. And, Israeli forces have attacked Palestinian worshippers at Bab as-Silsila, one of the main entrances to Al-Aqsa Mosque compound in occupied East Jerusalem, according to local sources. Israeli forces imposed tight security measures on Sunday, ejecting worshippers from Al-Aqsa Mosque and intensifying their presence around it, denying access to any Palestinian below the age of 50 to clear the way for Israeli settlers on Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. So this did happen. Now, while this attack, I don't know, I don't know how long it takes to set up an attack like this. Alexander Mercouris said it should have took months or whatever. I think that America funded this. I do a little bit. Yeah, I do. I think that beyond the $6 billion I was given to Iran to give to Hamas. And by the way, I have to be careful. I can't say that because we are broadly saying that that's exactly what happened, but we don't know. We don't know. There is not really a link that has been proven. And what America will do is say we're going to war with Iran. They've wanted to go to war with Iran since Trump days. They wanted to bomb Iran, and Trump stopped that. That's what one of these lawsuits are about. Okay, I'm popping off on all angles here. Okay, one of these lawsuits are about classified and declassified documents and or whatever. And when he says, this, I could have declassified this or whatever, and it was about the fact that Iran had sent a drone, I think struck like troops with a drone, or there was a drone. No. an American drone was over Iran, and Iran shot the drone down, right? And then and then and then General Milley came to Trump like, "Oh, we got to bomb Iran. They shooting down our drones. We got to bomb Iran." And Trump was like, "Bomb Iran because they shot down a drone. This is not even a man. Like, there's no man like inside the drone. This is just like it's just a machinery. Like, I don't think that I should." Like bomb a whole country, and then I'm going to mess up the countries surrounding that area, because where are the people going to? Like, they're going to flood into the other countries. Like, I'm not going to mess up that area. And a lot of people were mad at him about that. You know, the reports go that a lot of people were mad at him, like, "Yo, why didn't you bomb Iran?" So for some reason, you know, even the move of Joe Biden giving them $6 billion, right? Maybe they did give it to Hamas. Maybe, I don't know. But the optics look good. Well, we gave Iran this money, and Iran gave it to this terroristic group to do this to Israel. Now, I'm not saying Iran is a nice, sitting, good guy duck in a situation, a sweet, innocent victim. Absolutely not. But I'm saying is, I know how this goes with optics and emotions, and they won't get me like that anymore. I won't do it. I won't do it. You can show me whatever gory footage you want to. Yes, I feel bad. I don't want people to die that way, to get blown up or get shot up. Of course not. But that does not make me rush into a decision. Absolutely not. You will not do that to me anymore. No. Yes, American money is always behind everything. Behind COVID too. Yes, it is. They blame China for that, but that started here. That's just the truth. And when you say this to conservatives, it's already China shield. You like communist China? No, the truth is the truth. It falls where it lands. And this is how I know we are getting ready to play ourselves out here, because I'm about to take you to Twitter so you can see the reactions. Like, it's insane. Okay, Trump is still talking about everything that he built back. So let's go ahead and share to Twitter. Get notifications. Hold on, let me just make sure. First, we're going to start with, let me just check my notifications. It's just there's a lot of propaganda going on. A lot of propaganda. So 2 years leadership in Painesville because of. All right. First, we'll go. Where's my Spaces? I know they didn't shut down Spaces. Oh, okay. Let's first step into okay. Ilhan Omar has made a statement. I want to see it because we're going to read it. She's tweeted out something, and I'm going to read it because I just want to see where she's at with it. "I condemn the horrific acts we're seeing unfold today in Israel against children, women, the elderly, and unarmed people who are being slaughtered and taken hostage by Hamas. Such senseless violence will only repeat the back and forth cycle we've seen, which we cannot allow to continue. We need to call for de-escalation and ceasefire. I will keep advocating for peace and justice throughout the Middle East." They let her say this. They told her, this is not Ilhan. Let me explain foreigners to you. And I don't want to say all foreign Muslims are the same. I don't. But I'm going to explain foreigners to you. The way we feel about people dying, and we're like, "Oh my God, that looks so sad." Like, I don't want that to. They're used to it, especially somebody who's come from, we're from Somalia, whatever. They've seen all kinds of tragedies. That's not even trying to be, that's not a stereotype or anything. It's just the truth. My friend who was from Nigeria, he said when he was 8 years old, he would see dead bodies on the road all the time. Like, he would just like walk over them, 8 years old. So they see all kinds of things over there. So they don't necessarily, they're desensitized to it. So for her, for real, her real reaction is, okay, they're getting their retaliation and they're getting their land back. Her tweet for me lets me know, and she had to unfold today in Israel. She had to write it the way she wrote it because they're going to back it. Joe Biden said it already anyway. He said it's going to back Israel. So I don't even need to speculate on it. Okay, I already made my disclaimer that we don't want to see war and all that. All right, I'm not going to keep making it, right? But I know where this goes. Let's step in real quick to, let me see what y'all saying in the chat. I had space annoying to me, but nothing getting in the way when I'm trying to read the post. Yeah, I mean, the Spaces, they can be annoying, but we're just gonna step in for a little bit because Mariner Falls space really. I want you guys to get a taste of a little of what people are talking about, and I'm gonna step into this one too. So we'll see if you can hear me. Actually, I'm gonna pull out a Trump. Hold on. So Trump is talking about oil now. Okay, so I'm gonna pull out a Trump because I want to make sure my audio works because I've never really done this. Go on to space and come on. Sorry, y'all. I'm having a bit of a brain fart or something here. All right, hold on. My channel. Go to my live. All right, so look, let's step in here and see. My computer's probably gonna break in half.
The facts. So the statement says the Israeli army is now continuing to cleanse the areas around the Gaza Strip. So I'm guessing it's the areas that were attacked where Hamas is still present. But if someone wants to listen to the speech and discuss that, we can. John, good to have you. How are you?
Hi, Mario. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we can. I'd love your general thoughts on everything. It's been a while we haven't spoken. It's pretty crazy developments that we've seen over the last 12 to 20 hours.
Yeah, it's horrible. Just nobody wants to see what we've seen this morning. I was last there in Sirdat, actually having lunch, but it was not too long after the last, basically.
I'm gonna actually leave
conflict,
because he's about
Guardian.
to talk about his personal, like that he was there. Okay, so we're just gonna leave that real quick, and then there's one more thing. I wanted to go into this one. They were like basically saying that Palestine does not exist. Like I was like, dang, but I mean, hey, everybody has a right to feel what they want. Hold on.
If you guys wouldn't mind, I just posted from Laura Loomer a thread, and I think it's important you all retweet it and share it. She wrote, "It's incredible that Sheikh Suleiman, how you managed to make the Palestinians the victims here when you've been spreading blood libel against Jews all day long by using Zionist as a derogatory slur. It's not a derogatory word. A Zionist is a person who believes Israel has a right to exist. I'm a Zionist. Do you have a problem with me? I've been listening to you all day and observing your tweets, and you clearly have no sympathy for the innocent Israelis and Jews who have been maimed and killed over the last day because you're more focused on spinning a false narrative that the Palestinian jihadists are the real victims. The only true victims here are the Jews in Israel. As far as I'm concerned, everybody else is a jihadi enabler." Can you go? She just posted it at 12:19. I retweeted it. Please repost it. I would appreciate it.
Can I ask?
No problem. I want to tell you one more thing, about the speech of Netanyahu. I've seen a lot of speeches of Netanyahu from all over the years. It's never been so detached and he never been like that. What happened right now, it seemed like Pearl Harbor.
I never heard him like that. I agree with you. You're right.
Yeah, he's very careful with his words normally, right? Very precise and careful with his words.
I never hear him or see him like that. I tell you something, something personal. In September 11, I've been 2 blocks from the Twins when the second airplane.
Okay, so I'm gonna keep going.
I helped to take people out of the buildings before it crashed.
I'm gonna leave. So I want to go to Laura Loomer's page. So now we're going to talk about the reactions to what's going on in Israel. And Twitter is about to get real ridiculous. Okay. It is about to. Okay. So it's not just Twitter though, but everything is. Things start in Twitter and then they flush out into the real world. They do. And there's a connection to be made here with the kind of rhetoric that was going on Twitter for the last month. There is a bit of a connection to be made here, and Laura Loomer brings it up, and she's calling out Suleiman Ahmed, a person who's had her on his stage and been very nice to her every time she's come on. And now she calls him out because he's not showing enough sympathy for Israel. I am not Muslim. I'm not Palestinian. I don't know how it feels. I don't know. I'm not Jewish. I'm not, so I don't know how any of this feels. But we cannot like be mad at somebody else because they have their position on it. And that's just period, period on both sides. Twitter is the source of the woke mind virus. Yes, it is, but now it's also going to be the source of like some other stuff too. So let me go ahead and like break down who these people are. So let's look at Laura Loomer first for what she just said. She all like, I am a Zionist. Like, okay. It's incredible. So I guess because so Suleiman is Suleiman Ahmed, Palestinian civilian and mother stuck in rubble after Israel bombed residential building. Excuse me. So
خليكي معي يما أمانة ما تسيبينيش يما العقل أمانة يما أمانة يما ما تسيبينيش لا.
Right, so I'm not going to keep playing that because that sounds very sad. So he's going to show you a perspective, a perspective of Palestine being hurt too. The thing is, on both sides, people are getting hurt. That's why all of this orchestrated chaos that has been going on for years, like Ashley said, the history is even messier. It does nothing for people because at the end, innocent people are going to suffer. But we know that the media is going to they're going to pay more attention and focus on the Israeli suffer, of course, because it was Israel that was attacked. So they're going to pay more attention to those victims and everything else. Okay. And I get it. I get why. I do. But he wants to pay attention to the other victims too. So that's his right to do that. It is his right to share that if he wants to. Those are people getting hurt too. It's all sad. So it's his right to share that. And she says, it's incredible. Hold on a second. It's incredible, Sheikh Suleiman, how you managed to make Palestinians the victims here when you have been spreading blood libel against Jamaicans, because I don't want to keep saying Jews all day long by using Zionist as a derogatory slur. It's not a derogatory word. A Zionist is a person who believes that Israel has a right to exist. I am a Zionist. Do you have a problem with me? I have been listening to you all day and observing your tweets. You clearly have no sympathy for the innocent Israelis and Jews who have, I might as well just forget it, who have been maimed and killed over the last day, because you are more focused on spinning a false narrative that Palestine jihadists are the real victims. The only true victims here are Jews in Israel. As far as I'm concerned, everybody else is a jihadi enabler. But like, we can't even say that, right? Like, he speaks against violence on a regular. He does speak against violence. But I understand that she's going to be sensitive about it too, because those are her people dying. So I get it. I'm not saying that she's wrong too for feeling this way. It's just that he's going to report it from his perception of it too. He's hurt too. He's hurt. There's a lot of hurt going on right now. Zionist is not a derogatory, as a derogatory slur. A Zionist is a person who believes that Israel has a right to exist. I believe people have a right to be alive. I don't believe that we can just, this notion though that we can take over a territory and just forget the others and then have this mass media production that all the people over there are the worst monsters ever in the world. It doesn't sit right with me. It just doesn't. I'm not talking about the people causing the attacks. I'm talking about the actual citizens over there, So we're going to get into some of the disinformation that was going on too on Twitter. I wish I would have planned ahead, but but let me get into some of the disinformation that's been happening on Twitter. And I was just gonna wrap it up. Like I said, I can't go into the full history of how we got here, we got to this point. But I have to connect how America is going to be involved. I also don't think that she should rock this America first thing. She shouldn't. She knows she wants aid to go to Israel and all that. Like, don't put that there, man. When I say I'm America first, I'm America first. I am of Haitian descent, okay? And Haiti is a war, it's torn up, and it is because of American establishments. Yes, it is. But the uranium and the oil that's in Haiti, that's why there will always be chaos in Haiti. However, I have to take care of home first. I do. Corrupt Haitians sold their land, they sold their value, their worth, and their culture to evil, corrupt people, right? To what you would say is a colonizer, but it's a person who's just coming around and just trying to gather all the resources. Not saying that's the right thing, of course. And the corrupt people of Haiti, they sold their souls basically, and they get to live rich and eat good, while the citizens down there suffer. But I also know that in my home in America, What I first know is that there's problems here. So I can't want, no, I don't want a single red cent going anywhere else now until we fix home. We can leverage money as aid to actually, to actually spread a true value, a true message. When you invest in other countries in their infrastructure, 9 times out of 10, things can go better for you. And like you now you become powerful, but in a way of integrity, like what Russia and China is doing now, But instead, we use our money to fund wars and then fund LGBTQIA. Nah, America first means to kill all that noise. I want to take care of home first. So what we're going to do now? We're going to print a bunch of money and send it to Israel? Of course we are. Of course we are. And nobody's going to bat an eyelash about this, too, by the way. Let me see. All right, so Arthur's right. U.S. politicians and more war. So let me see. I thought this guy. Okay, so like this, yeah, this is sad. Not too smart. Israel Hamas has a bunch of your guys held prisoner. I wonder what's like. It is sad. I don't want to see that. I'm going to try really hard not to show this. It's being reported that this young woman was kidnapped from Israel by Hamas. There are 2 videos showing online that appear Noah been taken by Hamas militants and being held captive. Well, that's sad, All right, let's go ahead and get into, let me hit GB because I need to show you the first person who can't take it anymore. Hold on. Yep, here he is. I'm telling you. Here we go.
America stands with Israel. Israel is now under attack. I stand with Israel. America stands with Israel. Not only do they have a right to defend themselves, they have a duty to defend themselves against these Iranian-backed Hamas terrorists. Iran has helped fund this war against Israel, and Joe Biden's policies that have gone easy on Iran has helped to fill their coffers. Israel is now paying the price for those policies. We're going to stand with the state of Israel. They need to root out Hamas, and we need to stand up to Iran. Israel.
Here's our next war, guys. We're going to. I'm telling you. I'm telling you, these people are salivating for war with Iran. What? So now there's a connection. Like, okay, how do we not know that? Because the last time, by the way, back in April of 2021, if I'm not mistaken, I believe there was an attack. Hamas sent over a missile. It didn't do anything because of the Iron Dome that somehow wasn't working today. It works every other day, but it wasn't working today, right? So nothing happened, but the bombs were flying, right? And I remember that I said, as soon as a Democrat steps in, we're going to have some sort of war. We're going to start seeing turmoil. And we saw it. And then I saw reports of backhanded deals being made with Hamas from American establishment, but this is me loosely quoting, I can't provide the evidence. But how do we not know that come on. American establishment started like ISIS and stuff. Like, come on, please. It would not be the first time. It would not be the first time. And my man, he can't wait. He's like, we're going to go to war with Iran. I got one more for you. Here he goes. He got his bullhorn. He's ready.
I just want to say that today America stands with Israel against the terrorist attack that is being perpetrated by Hamas, who is backed by Iran and unfortunately funded by this American president with what he's done to Iran. It's a disgrace. And we all need to be united to say to Israel, not only do they have a right to defend themselves, they have a duty to respond to these terrorists with overwhelming force. And they'll have my support 100% as the next president of the United States.
We're going to clap. They'll have my support 100% as the next president. These fools, they laugh. Especially they clap. I hope this young boy isn't clapping there. He looks ripe and ready for war. 100% doesn't mean yay. What do they think that means? My God, people live in a dream world. They live in clouds. You would think after the last 3 years, we would pay attention to what people are saying. Okay? So watch, Governor DeSantis is on terrorist attack on Israel. Today, America stands with Israel against the terrorist attacks perpetrated by Hamas and unfortunately funded by this American president. So it's all, there are certain people, when I say two sides of the same coin, it is when it comes to DeSantis and these other guys, two sides of the same coin. They want this. They want the war. They want the war. I don't know what's going on over there. The next debate, he'll have orders to somehow blame Trump. Yeah. A lot of people not too much with this. Some people are though. Why they keep showing me feet? I just wanted to see what else they're saying, because like, does this mean Trump and his cult will stand with Hamas? Like, y'all don't get it. Y'all think it's about cult everything. That's what I said. And then I said they clap for DeSantis promising another forever war. He says we're going to go to a war with Iran. Like, and oh, by the way, it's just too much to keep up with. Like, it just is. It just is. I mean, are you serious? Go to war with Iran. They've been wanting that for so long, and they're getting ready to have it. I had bookmarks. Insane. And my thing is this. With this, what I said. Hold on. Let me go back to my profile. This is what I said this morning. I said, I was like, there are levels to the events that are taking place right now. I'm gathering information, but there are two things I know for sure. Innocent civilians will suffer on both sides, and many pundits on the app will look foolish with rush and blind opinions on the situation. I'm going to end up wrapping up this space with this discussion of why people blindly take a certain opinion. And I want to show you some, like an example of the opinion that I'm talking about. I probably have like, first of all, isn't this terrible? Like, hold on, let's just, what the hell? These midgets throwing the javelins and I can't take it. All right. These are the toothpicks. Who made that? So, okay, a few things that, you already got Jordan Peterson. Give him hell, Netanyahu. Enough is enough. What do you know about what's going on over there, Jordan Peterson? What do you know? Like, what do you know? Like, what? Okay. This is just a list of the money laundering that's been going on with our money. And you see, Ilhan Omar is on here, 33 million. She can't speak against this thing with Israel, man. It's a military industrial complex. Okay. The biggest transfer of wealth is happening right now, and people are paying attention to other things, right? It's happening now. Our money is going in their pockets with all the inflation. Here's just a few of the ones that received our laundered money from Ukraine and how much. Yeah. Oh, look at them. There they go. Right. You got Joe Biden, Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, 86, 92 million, all millionaires, while you pay $10 for a pack of bacon. Let me see what the chat is saying real quick. Excuse me. Some people claim to be America first, but put Israel over America, which makes me raise an eyebrow. Yeah, it is this weird. But first of all, I'm going to explain it. I am. Ask yourself, whatever happened to the children? Okay. Yeah, I know Bozette. I know what happened to him. Yeah. And then, by the way, we can also put a little a separate quotation for earthquake, because that was not an earthquake in Haiti that time, and I don't care what nobody says. And then Bozette says again, and yet he's friends with Bush and supports Biden. As I've always said, DeSantis is a Trojan horse. Yeah, he is. He's a Trojan horse. I just come out and say it now. I don't even, dance around it. Like, I can understand if you like. No, he is a Trojan horse. Did you hear him? He can't wait for that next war. He's gonna go get all the Middle Easters. Like, okay. So Kim.com had a pretty good take on this. I thought he would be on Mario's space, but he wasn't. He says, understand, first of all, damn, 4.9 million views. Wow. Understanding the Hamas attack on Israel. Iran is aiming for a confrontation with Israel. Okay. And the US. Maybe so, right? Maybe so. I think that Iran is probably aiming for confrontation with Israel, but the U.S. will follow suit. It's like you get a 2-for deal, 2-for-1. The success of Russia in Ukraine is encouraging Iran to undo decades of hostile U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East. Yeah, bankrupt U.S. government has just been invited to another war. And that's it. Whether we even pay attention to the history of how we got here, we are being placed here and we're bankrupt. The timing is opportunistic. The US government is forced to print trillions of US dollars as it struggles to raise the new debt. Isn't it though? Another war would lead to a significant increase in inflation and accelerated economic decline of the US. If Iran mines the Strait of Hormuz, the global energy crisis would become critical. The Biden administration has used the majority of US oil, reserves to stabilize domestic oil prices. Iran can increase the pain for the US government significantly. So this is an oil war. Okay. So this, God. Ukraine is turning into a major defeat for US and NATO. And new front in the Middle East would accelerate the US decline. Absolutely, it would. The US government and its Western partners simply cannot afford it. Russia and China would benefit the most. Yes, they would. Iran understands this and is playing into the hands of its partners. Yeah, because Iran is connected with them. So I speak the reality, and the reality is that Russia and China would certainly benefit from this. We are already on the bottom as far as I'm concerned. Like by numbers and stats, they say we're still on the top. As far as I'm concerned, we've already crumbled. I wish people would just wake up to this so we could start to fight back and get what we should be as America. Okay? Because what we see going on today, and you got Joe Biden saying that we're going to back Israel. We should have been brokering peace over there because China was able to get Saudi Arabia and Iran to sit down at the table and have a talk. That hadn't happened in years. China was able to do that. Was supposed to be America doing that. We had a president that was doing that, Trump, but he was racist. Go figure. So, hold on. Now, Keith Woods, he posted this about Ian Miles Chung. So now these are these influencers who do nothing but lie. Hamas is going from house to house, butchering the people inside, including women and children, taking shelter in basements. Imagine if this was happening in your neighborhood to your family. So this is why when I started the stream, I said, I can't believe everything that I'm seeing. I know that something's happening over there, but I can't believe everything I'm seeing because Keith Woods makes a very important, not only important, but he makes a very serious visualization. He realizes this detail that, hey, based on the uniforms, that's clearly a video of Israeli law enforcement, and there's no evidence for the claim you posted. Why mislead your audience? Absolutely. And the readers already, based on the uniform, they put it right here. This has been now fact checked. Ian Miles also has a record of posting lies and will post anything if it gets him clicks. Wow. Yeah. I mean, why lie? Listen, I don't know anything that's going on over there. I have my own feelings. I lean a certain way, but all I know though is that I can't trust any of them over there that got whatever going on. They're leaders of war, right? And I'm America first. So the reason why I have to pay attention to what's going on over there is because they're going to drag us into it for sure. This post right here, this really was just exhausting to me. I'm just like, yo, man, some of y'all really need to for real, all right, so they got the record. Now, I want you to know this particular girl, though, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that any of this is right or it's good. It's bad. The horrific Hamas terrorists kidnapped Israeli teenage girl. I don't even know if I even believe. Okay. Israeli teenage girl into Gaza, parade her in the streets screaming Allah Akbar. She's a soldier. That does not make this right, but everybody's making it seem. I don't like lies. I don't like lies to make things look good. I don't. What's happening in Israel is terrible. It should not be happening. It should not be happening. I can say this. It's terrible. But we don't have to, add on. I pray for the people of Israel who simply want peace and freedom. What? Yet are terrorized because of who they are. These terrorists are godless monsters. Come on, Xavier, man. You could do better than that, though, for real. I'm not trying to be funny. I understand the first part, fine. You could say, oh my God, this is horrible, whatever. I get it. You know what I mean? I totally get it. But, come on. You could do a little better than that. To say they're being attacked simply for who they are, you have not read into the conflict. I'm not saying whether that's true or not. Let's put it that way for this live. But it's a conflict that's been happening way before we were paying attention, way before we were born. So if I am not making this definitive statement on either side, because I've always kind of shied away from this conflict because I feel like I need to do more research on it, and I am. But you know, these people, they just post whatever, like, oh, because why? Because it's like the cool take. You know, all these people who were afraid to get canceled for not posting about George Floyd are suddenly silent when actual brutality is happening over in Israel. The media has more sympathy for criminals than actually like victims of hate. Oh man, we back to these words again, man. So at the end of the day, this is the kind of thinking that lets me know America will go into a war for sure. They will go into this war without question. If they have to, if they're asked to, I don't know what happens. They will. So I just know they will, because it's just this you know, I mean, at one point, Travis, shout out to Travis, but he was like blaming Russia somehow for this stuff. I'm like, come on, man. Like, you know, like what Russia got to do with this, you know? So it's just like, you know, here we go. I already know. Now, this video is kind of weird. People talking about this is horrific. The body looks kind of limp, you know, this. And so another person pointed out, like, they feel like it's fake. Yeah, like, you know, so I have to be careful too with what I'm seeing. I have to. So, but before I'm not gonna just go ahead and get into everything, you know, but and to make it seem like I know everything that's going on and I'm talking about everything that's going on and I have all the answers. I'm not. Whew, child, it is just hilarious. Like, Trump did, which is not monetarily. Somebody said, Lord, let's go to Palestine. I can't. I like, so at the end of the day, here's something though that I wanted to. Now, I don't even need to pull up the article. When Trump was president, he wanted to get that peace going on in that territory because, first of all, because of his ego. I'm not afraid to say it. His ego, he was like, I could broker the best deal. Like, this would be the deal to end all deals, to get Israel and Palestine to get along. I'll be the guy. So he was talking to Netanyahu and Abbas about this. And, you know, they were trying to draw up negotiations. But Israel, Netanyahu was not happy with the negotiations because it didn't favor Israel the most, right? So he wasn't going along with it. And so Trump was like, yo, I'm about, you know, let's hold back, because we sent $3.8 billion a year to Israel for, you know, aid. Crazy. And he was like, let's hold back. I'll hold back the aid. If you don't pay attention, if you don't, want to do this, you know, put this together, like this deal together. If you don't want to be a part of this, Netanyahu, like, we can hold back the aid. And the people across the board in Congress, like, people came to him, was like, you can't hold back that aid. Like, told him, like, no, you can't do it. You can't do it. You know, what's going on? You know, what's going on? So when people say that under Trump, this wouldn't be happening, is because he was trying to broker those deals. He didn't just bomb without question. He didn't pay attention to any kind of, I don't want to call it false flags, but orchestrated crises that are very sad to watch, but make you make an emotional decision. You know, Joe Biden just told us we are going to stand with these people for 100%. You know, you have a lot of Christians here who are very confused about what they're reading in the Bible. And they tell you that you have to stand with Israel in order to go to heaven. That's not what the Bible says. And the state of Israel did not exist when the Bible was being, you know, when in Bible times. Like, it did. So this, all of it. I'm not saying, again, I don't have to keep making the disclaimers. I don't, right? I'm not going to make them. So, but at the end of the day, I could say the whole, you know, we pray for peace. I'm not wasting my time, because it's not going to be peace. It has to be revved up so that we can get back to, you know, it has to be revved up so we can get back to war, any kind of war, anywhere. So eventually we will go to war with Iran. This is the war. I know conservatives can't wait. They're going to talk about it. We're going to go to war with Iran. This propaganda that's been placed in the media for decades, that all Muslims are bad. It's not true. People are bad. Not all Jewish people are bad, right? So not all Muslims are bad. Though we do have a disparaged situation about the Jamaicans, how they run. But anyway, the point that I'm making is, so now it's easier optically. It is easier for people to say, get those jihadis. It's because we've already desensitized to that back in 2001. That's how people were talking. And so real quick, to even go there, the same type of attack that you see happening on J6ers and their freedom of speech and FISA and FBI's, setting them up and raiding them and all of that, it's the same thing that happened to a lot of Muslims in this country after 9/11. The FBI, they would set up these networks, these fake networks, and trap people and then send them to jail. Okay. There's one guy who went to jail for 15 years for paintball fights in the back because he believes in holy war. That is his religion, but he wasn't really going to start a holy war. They knew he wasn't going to start a holy war. They didn't have enough evidence against him. 15 years in jail for his thoughts. Right. But back then we would not have, it just didn't look right to defend him. Oh, after the buildings went down and look at him, he's a Muslim. We can't defend him. Right. So we let the First Amendment go for that. We could sacrifice that because he's not the right kind of person we defend. And this is what I mean. So this is when I come down to saying that the First Amendment is not for what we like. It's for what we don't like. We have to defend this Constitution at all times, because we will set the precedent for it to be used back on us, what they decide to do to us. And so now today, what you see happening, the Trump supporters being targeted by the FBI and all of that, don't worry, they already set the precedent with the Muslims that nobody defended back in the early 2000s, right? Okay. No other conservative will talk to you like this. I do, because the truth lands where it falls. It's not about just always having subscribers and people just like me. People might not like what I'm saying. It's not easy to say what I'm saying, but I have to say it. In the name of God, I have to say it because it's just the truth. It just is. It is. And I'll do a disservice to anybody watching if I give you a watered down version of the truth or if I omit some things from the truth. The truth is the truth. So watch in the next couple of weeks where people go, and we're about to see our true traitors in our government. You're going to see a lot of them come out. Watch. At the end of the day, my heart does go out to people who have family in these places and who are, struggling with all of that. My heart does go out to them. So I'm signing off on this Saturday. Thank you guys for joining me. I will keep up with this situation. I'll do my research and keep up with this, and I'll have more snippets coming out about what's going on over there, because now we do have to pay attention to this. And just like Alexander McCurry said, I was so focused on Ukraine myself that I did not pay too much attention about other regions and areas. I knew a couple little things happening, but I really didn't see this one coming. They got me off guard. They didn't get Netanyahu off guard, but they got me off guard. So in the meantime, what's up, Jason? Oh man, I'm about to leave. But I'm signing off, and I'll see you guys at the next video.